Thanks for joining us on the weekend edition of National Focus. I'm Pearl Fontaine. Coming up, Stella LeBlanc has been chosen to lead the GIS Village Council for another term. Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit has called on Dominicans at home and abroad to condemn statements made by Thompson Fontaine, and Bosch donates $40,000 worth of eye drops to the Ministry of Health. Stay with us for these and other stories right after this.
Dominica is blessed with an abundance of water, but getting it to your home is an expensive venture. You have a responsibility to conserve water, to use it wisely. Remember the old adage, you never miss the water till the well runs dry. Think water, think life.
Thanks for staying with us. At the 26th inauguration of the GIS Village Council, it was announced that Stella LeBlanc has been selected to lead the community to the next level of development. The 8-member team was sworn in on Thursday at the GIS Primary School, witnessed by Dominica's Head of State, His Excellency Charles Savarin, Prime Minister and Constituency Representative Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, Community Development Minister Honorable Gloria Shillingford, other government officials, and members of the public. The Prime Minister says as a resident and constituency representative, he has seen remarkable council involvement in the past term.
I really want to commend the council for the extent of the involvement in the community. In terms of keeping the village clean and beautiful, has been at the center of the council's activities. And all of you who have driven into GIS, you will see how clean we have kept this village, and that's how we intend to keep it for the foreseeable future. But importantly too, the council has been involved in the school, in the education of our children. Because oftentimes you hear councils speak about roads and drains and so forth. But here in GIS, they have focused their attention a lot on the human aspect of development. People, whether it is the elderly, whether it is school children, whether it's the health of our people. Health talks and about healthy lifestyles and eating practices, taking our pressure and all these things and so forth. The council have been involved in these things. So I really want to commend you and to say to you, I would like for you to continue on that trajectory.
Chairperson for another term, Stella LeBlanc, George Williams, and Agatha Ishmael comprised the nominated councillors. The elected were Charlotte Joseph, Yolande John Jules, Brian LeBlanc, Peter Grano, and Christopher Elise. District Development Officer for the North, Barbara Phillip, was the first to address the ceremony. She used the opportunity to call for a symbiotic relationship between the community and council.
The Department of Local Government is always encouraged by councils who involve communities in building their localities and facilitating and encouraging local people to participate in their own community affairs. The development of your community is a shared responsibility which must not be taken for granted. Therefore, I urge residents to continue to support your council, encourage others to get involved, and don't hesitate to give ideas and contributions which seek to elevate your beautiful community.
Stella LeBlanc, in her first official address to the ceremony, made a point of reminding the community of the accomplishments of the last council.
The GIS community, along with GIS Village Council, was awarded by the Solid Waste Management Corporation for maintaining a clean environment. And this was a result of our enhanced garbage collection practices. We continue to remind residents to ensure that their garbage is put outside only on designated collected days. We captured the first prize in 2011 and 2012 National Day of Community Service Beautification Program, and second place for Best Kept Village in Dominica. In 2012, we also awarded by the Ministry of Health for outstanding community spirit in promoting a healthy environment.
She says teamwork is to be credited for those successes as well as others, which she listed.
Collaborated well with the primary school to organize regular cleaning and maintaining of the schoolyard. care of the sick and shut-ins through regular provisions of lunch and food packages to them. Annual visits to other councils to gain experience and share best practice of the ideas. Sponsor our trophy to the primary school annually for their graduation ceremony. Erection of traffic signs on the public road in collaboration with the police in various areas which were considered to be dangerous. Installation of additional street lights in dark places around the village.
Honorable Gloria Shillingford is Minister for Community Development.
This government endorses and encourages this type of community involvement in nation-building process. Let me therefore applaud both the outgoing and incoming councillors of the Verkas Village Council for taking on the noble responsibility to serve your community through conscientious leadership. This is evident here this afternoon.
GIS News will bring you more in a subsequent newscast. On Wednesday, GIS News went on tour of ongoing and recent developments in the Kalinago constituency with Parliamentary Representative Honorable Ashton Grano. Tasia Flozak brings this report on housing upgrades in that area.
Kalinago constituents are witness to what is being called the largest housing development scheme the area has ever seen. GIS News went on tour with constituency representative Honorable Ashton Grano on Wednesday. Among the numerous ongoing projects in the Eastern community, government's housing program is making a huge impact in the lives of these constituents. Marcel Bruni is one of those. He waits patiently in a dilapidated wooden structure in Crayfish River where he has lived for 40 years.
Ils filmé avec des enfants filmés. Quand il partait bonne pièce parce que mon quand était anti mon kawa dewadan oui pas de et fait le appli c'est un problème pour moi. Mon ka coupe pas mettre toi là mettre pile par là monter ça par gloire.
Work on Marcel's 28 by 20 two-bedroom house began early November, and contractor Timothy Africa is working feverishly to finish the structure in good time. When we met Timothy, he was out front cutting and measuring wood strips for Marcel's house.
We put in trimmings and then windows, doors, and then some little finishing on the inside, and toilets, in fact, plumbing work and electricals.
Timothy Africa was contracted to build 2 houses in Crayfish River. He rallied 20 skilled locals, which means that both houses are being constructed simultaneously. He says Marcel and his family should be, quote, more than appreciative to government, and Marcel is.
Over. Parce que mon si mon passe pas tellement d'être la mode que venir ici parce que avant la mon travail partenaire il fait caillou ça bien mais après ça si gouvernement bon mon caillou après ça moi bien content moi dit merci pour gouvernement non.
A bit further into the community of Crayfish River, we met Ferdy August, just about to leave to check on his goats. He had no trouble delaying his trip a bit to give insight into what a new house would mean for him and his family.
My roof used to leak. It was leaking when rain, and the sidings of it was rotting, and the hurricane sometimes back pushed the house, and the house was slanting. So it was not level. So presently I'm very glad and happy what I'm receiving now from the present government, like Honorable Mr. Skerritt and the Dominica Labour Party.
Ferdy says this structure is where he was born and spent his entire life. He's 56. While work continues on his new house, life goes on as normal for Ferdy, but he hopes others can experience the feeling of improved housing and a better life. Further encourages government to continue spreading that feeling to others who may otherwise never know.
I would also like them to continue the project throughout the Carib territory and throughout Dominica also at large. And it's a very good project. I appreciate that, and God bless the government.
On the Point Saldibear Road, we met Javans and Tiwani Burton looking on from their veranda. They have been married for 59 years and now they have found comfort in their old age.
We are very happy and thankful for what the government do for us. We had an old house down there, but it wasn't, it wasn't good. So we get that house. I'm very thankful. I have water. I cannot walk myself. I can go far. When I have to go to the doctor, transport come right there for me. So it's really, really a privilege for me. And I'm so happy. I can be more happy than that. True. For true. We have light. I have baby inside. I have my bathroom inside. I have my toilet inside, my kitchen, my sink. It's not a problem. Yes, so I'm very, very thankful.
We visited 9 houses on that tour, all funded by the governments of Dominica and the People's Republic of China. But there are others. There are several Venezuelan-funded houses as well as housing renovation projects that have improved life for Kalinago constituents. Thomas Africa, a contractor on one of those projects, gave an idea of the industry's average cost of such a structure.
If I would have built a house like that for somebody, on my own, probably about 155, somewhere around that.
Those structures are being made available to needy constituents at little or no cost. For GIS News, I'm Tasia Flosak.
Thank you, Tasia, for that report. In more news, the Ministry of Health has confirmed the first case of the chikungunya disease in Dominica. However, Chief Medical Officer Dr. David Johnson is adamant that currently there is no need for alarm.
We can confirm now that we have the first locally occurring case of chikungunya in Dominica. It's a female individual who had a travel history of traveling to St. Martin, and we confirmed, although the person presented with signs and symptoms of the disease in mid-December, that having received the confirmation from CAFA today, last night to be exact, that we have the presence of chikungunya in Dominica.
The Ministry of Health held a press conference on Friday to communicate to the general public the need to stay alert and take precautionary measures to halt the spread of the disease. Chikungunya is a disease spread by the Aedes aegypti mosquito, the same vector which spreads dengue fever. Symptoms of the disease are similar to that of dengue fever and include sudden high fever, joint pains, muscle pains, headache, and rash. These symptoms may last up to 10 days. Chief Medical Officer Dr. David Johnson says although the disease is not life-threatening, correct diagnosis is important to make a distinction between chikungunya and dengue fever. The case in Dominica, a female from the community of Good Hope, was confirmed by the Caribbean Public Health Agency. Since then, the Ministry of Health has been on high alert and have put plans in place for rapid and coordinated responses to manage the spread of the disease.
Part of our response would involve clinical management of persons who present with chikungunya signs and symptoms of chikungunya disease. The vector control, as I indicated, it is a disease spread by the Aedes aegypti mosquitoes, and therefore it's significant that we would boost up our vector control, and our Chief Environmental Officer will speak to that later. Laboratory support forms part of our response, and very, very importantly, surveillance of the disease, surveillance as to what is happening.
Anthony Scotland, Chief Environmental Health Officer, says that his department is on high alert and doing all it can to control the vector which spreads the disease.
Right now, with this case showing up on our doorstep, we have already put measures in place in the community of Good Hope where it has occurred. In that, a team is on the ground right now. We, from the National Pest and Termite Company, working alongside the Environmental Health Department, the Health the environmental officer within in the district and the health team members in doing some level surveys in the community. That is, they're going to be inspecting all the houses in that community for mosquito breeding and treating it.
The Environmental Health Department is also conducting fogging in the Good Hope area and other high-risk areas in an effort to terminate the adult mosquito. Anthony says for every 100 homes inspected, 12 homes are confirmed to be breeding grounds for mosquitoes. He laments that this 5% rate is still too high, as less than 1% of infected areas is acceptable. The public is advised to do all that is necessary to avoid the breeding of mosquitoes. Since the first case of the disease was contracted from overseas, heightened surveillance is also being carried in all ports of entry on island. Dr. Paul Ricketts says although the disease is mild and most patients recover without incident, persons traveling to and from the French islands should be mindful and report any ill feeling within 10 days of returning to Dominica.
Patients, we would of course be welcoming if patients would present to their clinicians, to the health centers, doctors, if they are experiencing fever and joint pains, especially if you've traveled to one of the islands, and mainly the French islands, who have been reporting cases of chikungunya. We will be putting some information at the points of entry to remind individuals who are entering the country that they should present to their healthcare provider if they present with these symptoms within a week or so of arriving back in Dominica. And this is important because we want to be able to minimize the risk, as Mr. Scotland has pointed out, of transmission.
The first case of the disease in the Caribbean was confirmed from French Saint Martin. Authorities suspect that the Dominican case, now recovered, had contracted the disease in mid-December during travels to a French island. Prime Minister and Minister for Foreign Affairs, Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, has called on Dominicans at home and abroad to condemn statements made by Thomson Fontaine, an election candidate for the opposition United Workers' Party. The Prime Minister recently responded to a statement made by Fontaine in the United States this week. Prime Minister Skerrit said that the statements made by Fontaine shows that he and the rest of the UWP are unfit for any leadership position in Dominica.
I've been the leader of the Labour Party for 10 years this year. And I have been around Dominica more than most in this country. And I've been to more homes in Dominica than most in this country. And I've been to every single village and cranny in Dominica, every one of them. And never have our young people asked me for guns to kill anybody. Somebody is not going to ask you for marijuana if they know that you're not smoking marijuana. True. They're not going to ask you for a matches if they know that you're not a smoker. True. They will ask you for guns because of what you are preaching to our people in Dom. And if anybody in this country is not standing up in condemnation of these things, the blood of our youth and the future of our country will be on your hands.
The Prime Minister clearly indicated that the image of Dominica presented by Dr. Fontaine is not a true depiction of what is happening in Dominica.
How could you want to be leaders in this country and promoting that falsehood about our people? And you hear them preaching violence. We have to respect people. Not everybody can support me, I respect that. But I'm not going to tell anybody to kill you because you don't support me. And it is because these people are preaching a sermon of hate, of violence, that a man could think that he could approach you, a big man, to ask you for a gun to kill somebody.
Recently reported, Lennox Linton, political leader of the UWP, described elderly beneficiaries of the Yes We Care program as greedy and not needy. And that's it for the English segment of the news. McPherson St. Luce is next with the Creole highlights.
Allô tout le monde, bienvenue à ces nouvelles en créole. Non moins, c'est McPherson St. Louis. Premièrement, le ministre de la Santé a déclaré maladie chikungunya qui paraît en Dominique. Si l'officier département santé environ Anthony Scotland, ministre santé a adressé cette situation-là.
Le ministre santé juste déclaré en disease qui est chikungunya. C'est en première fois Dominique nous avons tapé maladie ça. Maladie ça là nous avons essayé il y a place comme Saint-Martin, Martinique, Guada, il y a Saint-Barth, Guyane. Mais à présent nous en Dominique. C'est une maladie qui transmise par maingouin. Mais maingouin là nous avons parlé code. C'est maingouin nous qui il est égyptaï. Maingouin ça il noir blanc. Et si vous regardez qu'a posé ou ça détecté il a resté wokayou. So nous qu'a regarder au disease comme ça. Et ben nous le système Dominique pour pêcher pauvreté. Non c'est qualité sign là avec symptômes disease ça que regarder le quoi senti corps ou que ça veut barrer ko dengue on y a tête on y ka senti maladie en jouer tout ou ka senti on ka taper la fièvre qui haut et ben il a affecté genou c'est une maladie qui a activé genou et ben en cause là ça y a qui a des temps il a marcher en localité ben cochi il a ben up so c'est a dangerous disease et ben nous Dominique parler de ça spread à Dominique après nous on yon case Dominique et ben yon c'est top.
En la nouvelle, membre parlement pour cortège honorable Reginald Austrie qui a fait parole d'autres projets en Capucin. Sinon Austrie, projet qui a voué jeunesse communauté cela taper travail même l'instant il a bénéficié et puis l'état construction.
Ça pas veut dire nous pas qu'à faire travail en d'autres cases en Capucin même nous avons 3-4 nous pour faire en Capucin même nous en savane paille pour nous faire nous dans lagon pour nous faire mais petit projet ça là même et ça qui a fait plus un bon petit projet c'est nous ça point et puis jeune homme qui pas fini l'école secondaire et nous mener ensemble et nous avons ça une housing brigade et ça nous c'est 3 contractors experience qui travaillent avec ces boucles là ils ont apprendre l'état là et nous avons payé un stipend et report qu'a dit moi qui c'est type là yo bien excité yo bien excited quand ça yo qu'a fait et nous qu'a dit si yo tiens à ce chemin ça là yo même en future là qui fait bon contracteur.
En la nouvelle, ministère de l'Agriculture, honorable Matthew Walter, qui a fait parole que le gouvernement Dominique qui continue de dépenser l'argent pour adresser mauvaise maladie Black Sigatoka et puis citrus greening disease qui a bien détruit le secteur agricole pays là. Honorable Walter fait parole cela pendant qu'il était adressé un groupe habitant North-East pays là, plus bonnet semaine cela. Ministre Walter croyait à ces habitants qui l'occasion a affecté pour prendre plus de responsabilité à ces l'occasion a prendre bon standard et le ministre la gourmet au compte maladie cela. Et aussi croyait à ces habitants pour garder l'agriculture comme un business. Finalement, ministre Walter fait parole que le gouvernement qui continue de travailler pour ce secteur agricole, Dominique Douvant. Finalement, ministre agriculture qui travaille et puis développement coco en Dominique. Parole cela sorti au directeur agriculture Ricky Brumand.
Nous avons travaillé avec habitants encore pour faire certain qui kako ça mène ben nous l'argent employement pour aider habitants aussi. Nous avons planté nous avons récolté réhabilité yon 100 à kako et nous avons planté un lot 100 qui a fait 200. Nous voulons planter la vallée 300 en tout pour l'année qui venir. Nous avons facilité un marigot nous avons bâti pour qu'on plan la importance pour chercher kako là. So si nous taper ces marchés là, yo là déjà mais nous ça ba yo qualité kako là yo besoin.
Messieurs, mesdames, ça c'est tout pour nouvelles en créole pour à présent. Non, moi c'est McPherson, Luce. Bon week-end. Au revoir.
Tarnia Green brings us a recap of the week's headline stories right now.
Thank you, Pearl. Here now are the major stories which made the news this week. Tourism Director Colin Piper confirmed this week that Dominica is expected to see an increase in the number of cruise passengers this year. A new bridge currently being constructed in Pishley will mean improved access to community services in that community. Dominican Archbishop Kelvin Felix has been named the Cardinal of the Roman Catholic Church. He will be officially installed at the Vatican on February 22nd. The government of Dominica announced that it has begun to provide relief to those who were affected by the heavy rains on Christmas Eve. Dominica was awarded last week by USA Today as being the third best Caribbean island for getaway vacation. And Agriculture Minister Matthew Walter confirmed that government will rehabilitate 14 feeder roads in the northeast of the country by the first quarter of this year. A national consultation hosted in Dominica this week was called to draft a new agricultural policy for Dominica. That policy will be in effect for 4 years. And a new school library is now operational at the Roosevelt Primary School. This was made possible by Western Union and Hands Across the Sea. Joseph Merrifield of Grand Bay is Dominica's latest centenarian. He is one of 4 male centenarians currently living on the island. We told you of ongoing works on the Celibia Resource Center. That project, when complete, will enhance learning development and communication for individuals in the Kalinago territory. And Agriculture Minister Matthew Walter confirmed this week that the Cabinet of Dominica is now looking at possible options to address the effects of heavy sea blast in Marigot. The 20th annual VOSH mission ended its 3-day mission in Dominica on Thursday at the Goodwill Parish Hall. The mission began on Monday in Portsmouth and served members of the public in Marigot, St. Joseph and Grand Bay. And a 5-day workshop on marketing techniques for small hotels took place this week to equip small hoteliers with marketing skills to improve productivity and increase visibility in the market. These were the major stories which made the headlines this week. It's now back to you, Pearl.
How to stay motivated next in the tip of the day.
Do you have uncovered water storage drums around your home? Do you dispose of old tires, cans and old containers capable of holding water anywhere in your environment? Are you being bitten by mosquitoes, particularly at dusk and early morning? Do you keep houseplants in water? Do you spend your hard-earned cash to control mosquitoes? Has your community experienced dengue fever outbreaks? If your answer is yes to at least 3 questions above, you are at risk to dengue fever. Join the fight against dengue fever. The responsibility for a dengue-free Dominica lies with you. So, get rid of the Aedes aegypti mosquito.
Here's how you can stay motivated and accomplish anything. Set a goal and visualize it down to the most minute detail. See it, feel it, hear the sounds that accompany the end result. Then make a list of the reasons you want to accomplish the goal. In our busy, distracting world, it's easy to get blown off course. This is why you need to ground yourself in your goal. For extra success insurance, write your list with a pen. Studies show that when we write by hand and connect the letters manually, we engage the brain more actively in the process and set the goal into motion. Never, ever give up. And that's all for this edition of National Focus. We always welcome your suggestions and comments. Drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm or visit our website at news.gov.dm. I'm Pearl Fontaine. Thanks for watching and have a great weekend.